Pallada. The goddess Pallada appears as a court and city deity. She is the protector of science and wisdom, and she also has a role of goddess of war. Among the Greeks, she is the goddess Athena. Her sign was an all-goddess, and that's why in Velas's book it is written that the princes looked at the warrior to see where the owl bird flies in order to predict the outcome of the battle. Serbona. The goddess Serbona was considered to be a disguise of the was considered to be a pair of the god Serbon. It appears very early among the Serbs in the Danube region, with a famous Serbian coat of arms on her skirt. The Greeks called Serbona Artema, and she had a famous temple in Ephesus, the Temple of Artemis. They believed that Serbona was a sister of Apollo and that their mother Leto gave birth to them on Delos. Leto came from Hyperborea to Delos. The territory of today's Kushnica mountain was considered under Hyperborea. The mountain wind, Bora, which the Greeks call Boreus, and which blows from the mountains towards the sea, had a great force. Everything beyond the mountains from where the Borea starts was called Hyperborea. When the Etruscan prince Mastarnatulius ruled in Rome, he built the temple of the goddess Serbona on Aventine, and from then he was called Serbius Tullius, similar to Stefan Dechansky later in Serbia. Her full name was Diana Serbona, but later they omitted the personal name Serbona and she was simply celebrated as Diana. Kybele. The great mother goddess who embodies the earth, the protector of the mountains, an animal which the Greeks identified with Cretan Rhea and the Romans with Oppa. She is most celebrated in Phrygia, where her festivities were held at the beginning of spring and lasted for 3 days. Her cult was held with the accompaniment of talambas, horns and cymbals. The oldest temple of the goddess Kybele was in Phrygia. During the Second Punic War, by order of Sibyl Books, her statue was transferred to Rome and placed in a temple built in honor of Rhea Cybele on Paladine. Her festivities in Rome were called Megalesia, whose priests, called Gauls, passed through Roman streets with loud music. She is represented with lions pulling her chariot and her riding on a lion. She is also shown sitting on a throne with 2 lions sitting next to her. It is a Phrygian goddess that is known today and probably occupied the position of the official goddess of that state. Her Phrygian cult was taken over and adapted by the Greek colonists in Asia Minor and from there spread throughout mainland Greece and the western Greek colonies starting from 6th century BC. Jovan. Jovan is the god of the sky, light and day. He is mentioned in the Bible. Serbs were also called Aryans or Javanese after him. Since the time of Alexander the Great, when together with Serbs, the Greeks also moved freely among the eastern peoples, who did not make any distinctions between them, so the Greeks were also called Javanese. There is one record that says that Greeks protested against that name and said that they are not Javanese, but that Serbs are. The domesticated name among the people is Jovan, Jovo, Jovis. Jovan is the supreme goddess in Rome, Jupiter, who is also called Jov, Jovis, and is represented as the god of heavenly light and day. Let no one be surprised by these religious beliefs that they were transferred from Serbs to Rome. Jovan is also revered by the Jews, where he is compared to God Yahweh. In the Bible, the region of Serbia is named after Jovan. Pico. Among the Serbs, Pico is a patron god of birds. When Nino Bello went on a campaign to the east and took the name of god Buck, his brother went west and took the name of bird god Pico. There are still monuments of this conqueror in Western Europe, such as Picts and Picardy. The Romans celebrated him as the first king of Latium and then of Italy. Diodorus of Sicily writes, "The grave of Pico was located in Crete, which he personally visited, and on a grave it was written, 'Here rests Pico, whom the people considered a god.'" Serbs are the only people, as far as I know, who had a patron god of birds, and even today there are more birds in Serbia than in whole of Europe. Arion. Arion is a deity that becomes especially famous from the time of the Aryan campaigns. Before Nino Belov and the first Aryan campaign, the concept of army has not yet been known, so before that warriors were called hunters because they went hunting for a large game organized as an army under the name of hunters. During the campaign in Asia, the warriors of Nino Belov were called hunters, and after their patron god, Aryans. The name Aryans was not widely used, so in addition to the name Aryans, Serbian warriors are also called Javanis after god Jovan, that is Jovan. In ancient times, people were called by the deities they worshipped and believed in. These were the most often dedicated deities of specific purposes. Veles. God Veles is an ancient deity who is celebrated as the protector of herds and domestic animals. He does not have a corresponding deity among the Greeks nor among the Romans because the development of animal husbandry among them was limited. Herders are called after him, which remain connected to his name and herding profession even in a Christian area. The book of Les or Veles from Ukraine, dedicated to god Veles, from there is well-known livestock population. And in Serbia, at the time of Emperor Dusan, professional herdsmen are called Vlachs, derived from Veles. Like many other deities, Veles is associated with the sun and nature. It is wrong idea that the Vlachs are special people because the Serbian herders were also called Vlachs. Christian preachers called the god Veles even the devil because they could not suppress him among the pastoral population. This was also the case with Serbian herders in the north and east of Europe. Seja. Seja is the goddess of spring crops, the protector of seeds that are still in the ground. It was present in ancient Rome with the same role and under the same name. Then we also find it among the Illyrian tribes in Italy. It was customary not to say her name under the roof of the house. The Romans joined her with two more goddesses, Segetia and Tutellina. Segetia protected the seeds when they were already germinated, and Tutellina protected the late fruits. Seja is another proof of identification of Serbian and Roman beliefs. Ma. Ma is a shortened form of the name Maika or Mother, meaning the great goddess of nature. She was especially revered by the Serbs in Asia Minor, where they consider her the mother of the gods and believed that she was the mother of god Buck. Priestesses of this goddess performed rites armed as warriors, so they were called Mazons or Amazons. They had a multiple role in Serbian Divonia. Nortia. Our Russian people who came to Italy from Sard of Lydia, known as the Etruscans, had their own special beliefs. The goddess Nortia was the goddess of fate, who was especially celebrated in the city of Volsina. Her temple was located there, where a wedge was driven every year. This custom was also represented in the temple of Jupiter on Capitol. The driving of the wedges was a symbol of the unchangeable decision of fate, and the Romans identified the goddess Nortia with the goddess Fortuna or Nemesis. Priap. Priapus was believed to be the son of god Buck and a deity of fertility of fields and flocks. Herds of sheep and goats, beekeeping, gardening and viticulture are under his protection. As a god of the fields, he also has prophetic power. On the statues they placed ordered in vineyards, in gardens, Priapus was depicted with a sickle in his hand, with fruits and cornucopia. The Romans identified Priapus with the ancient Italian fertility god Mutinus.